Welcome to the SEC Recap Podcast. It is March Madness 2023. We are diving into all of the action with our not so in-depth analysis of every game, player, and team in the conference. Doing a live bracket challenge prediction, going through the whole deal here. This is our $1 million March Madness bracket. $1 million guaranteed, or I refund you the cost of admission to this podcast. So, hey, whether you're a diehard and you just can't get enough, or you're a casual, I've got you covered here on the SEC Recap. So sit back, relax, get ready to wade into the shallow end of the analysis pool. And we get pumped for the SEC tournament. Let's get started. So funny thing enough, I actually recorded this entire episode last night with some of the guys, some of the four horsemen of the Apocalypse. Got all the way to the end of the show. It was awesome. We had an awesome bracket, really game theoried it out, and then realized I did not record it. So here I am on Monday morning, March 13th, doing my March Madness episode solo, redoing my March Madness episode. So shout out to those guys for joining me, David, Andrew, Gordon for tuning in. I give you full credit when this bracket wins the jackpot. All right, for you guys listening at home or watching on YouTube, here's kind of what we did. We started with all the 16 and 1 seeds and then went to the 15 and 2, the 14 and 3, and so on, and just worked our way in. So we went around each division and then worked our way down to the final four. So I don't need to take as much time as we did on the original episode. We can kind of run through this pretty quickly. And I know those of you watching at home are excited about that. So we'll start here in the South region and then go to the Midwest, and then we'll look at the West and the East. If you're watching on YouTube, I've got the bracket pulled up here. If you're listening, you might want to pull up a bracket just to follow along, or you can go on over to Spotify, where I upload every episode as a video podcast. So starting with our 16 and 1s, listen, historically, there has been one instance where a 16 seed has upset a 1 seed. That was 2018 UMBC over Virginia, 74-54 shellac. However, that is such a rarity. 0.68% of all first-round games between 16 and 1 seeds. I am not betting on that happening. So, automatic, give me Alabama over either AMCC or SMO. That would be the Tuesday game. That's Southeastern Missouri State versus Texas A&M Corpus Christi playing in for that 16 seed. In the Midwest, I will take Houston over Northern Kentucky. In the West, give me Kansas over Howard. And in the East, give me Purdue over either Fairleigh Dickinson or Texas Southern. That game will be played in on Wednesday, March 15th. Regardless, I'm going to take Purdue over either of those. All right, let's go into our 15 and 2 seeds. We'll start back in the South. We've got number 2 Arizona versus number 15 Princeton. Princeton just won the Ivy League. However, only 10 15 seeds have defeated 2 seeds. Last year, that was St. Peter's over Kentucky with that 85-79 overtime thriller. We had one in 2021 as well. Oral Roberts over Ohio State, 75-72 in overtime. It's happened 4 times in the last 10 years, going back to 2013. So again, not something I'm going to bet on happening. If it happens, it happens. Don't see Princeton upsetting Arizona, so I will take Arizona. I don't see Colgate getting one in over number 2 Texas. Down in the West, we've got UCLA versus UNC Asheville. Love Asheville, great part of the country, great area. Don't see them upsetting UCLA there. And then Marquette and Vermont. Do not see Vermont sneaking one past Marquette. So that brings us to our 14 and 3 seeds. Now, if you want to bet on some chaos, this is where it can start to get interesting. This has happened 6 times in the last 10 years where a 14 seed has upset a 3 seed. Again, it's usually by single digits. In fact, 2021, Abilene Christian over Texas, it was 53-52. But in 2016, Stephen F. Austin over West Virginia, 70-56. 2015, Georgia State over Baylor, 57-56, and UAB over Iowa State, 60-59. So 1 point margin of victory most typically. Again, not something I'm going to bet on. I don't see Furman doing that over Virginia. So I'm locking in Virginia there. I will also take Indiana over Kent State. Sometimes it helps to look at these little stat breakdowns. You can't use this for all your decision making. When you look at BPI rank, their strength of schedule, you got Indiana versus Kent State, Indiana 18th BPI, Kent State 74th. You look at points per game and opponent points per game, and they could look really similar, but you look at that strength of schedule, look at conference record, look at their top 25 record to kind of add some granularity to that decision making. So give me Indiana over Kent State in the Midwest. Headed down to the West. Now, this one is interesting. Iona is, in my opinion, a really interesting kind of sleeper pick. And because this has happened 6 times in the last 10 years, if you want to play a little upset bid here, I think this is a really sneaky good one. I know that BPI is light years apart. But Iona is one of those teams that I think this could be like a Cinderella story. So I love chaos. You always got to bet on some chaos happening in March Madness. So give me Iona here for an out there upset, an outside upset. Then over here we got in the East, we have Tennessee Rage Cajuns. Tennessee without Zakai Ziegler, not the same team offensively. Really good defense. You hope that gets them out of the first round. I'm not going to bet against Tennessee in the first round, but it wouldn't surprise me if we saw some chaos here as well. Not going to bet on it, though. I will stay an SEC homer. Give me Tennessee to get out of round 1. Okay, that brings us to our oh wait, I did sorry. In the South, I did a 4 and 13, not a 14 and 3. So I need to lock in our 14 and 3 here. So that's Baylor over UCSB. Again, I don't have much hesitation taking Baylor there. Sorry for that mix up. Now that brings us to the 13 and 4s. And here in the South, I already locked in Virginia over Furman. So let's head on over and look at Kennesaw State. Oh, I did it here too. Oh my gosh. Guys, I'm flubbing up. It's Monday morning. I haven't had my coffee yet. So Xavier's the 3 seed, Kennesaw State. I had already picked Indiana over Kent State for our 4 and 13. Just got my numbers mixed up there. So Xavier over Kennesaw State. This one is easily Xavier for me. And let me go down here because I'm sure I just messed all of these up. Yep, I did all of our 13 and 4s instead of our 14 and 3s. There you have it. We got our floaties on in the kiddie pool this morning. So 14 and 3, Gonzaga Grand Canyon. It's Gonzaga. I got Gonzaga going pretty deep. A lot of my friends do. And Kansas State over Montana State. Give me Kansas State. All right. Now, since we already got all of our 4 and 13s locked in, which is, a reasonably high probability as well. You can bet on one of those happening just about every year. We had 2 in 2021, 2 in 2018, 1 in 2016, 1 in 2013. So it's happened 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times in the last 10 years. So that's where I'm taking Iona here in the West for a little bit of a chaos pick. So that brings us to our 12 and 5 seeds. Now, this is where it gets really, really interesting. And you can almost bank on a 12 seed upsetting a 5 seed every single year. Last year, Richmond over Iowa, New Mexico State over UConn. In 2021, Oregon State over Tennessee. In 2019, Murray State over Marquette, Oregon over Wisconsin, Liberty over Mississippi State. In 2017, Middle Tennessee over Minnesota. In 2016, Little Rock over Purdue, Yale over Baylor. Going back to 2013, this has happened 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 times in the last 10 years. So bet on it happening at least once, I think. So as far as the 12 fives that I see, we have San Diego State, Charleston, Miami, Drake, St. Mary's, VCU, and Duke, Oral Roberts. Duke trending up a little bit coming out of tournament play, to end the regular season. Oral Roberts, sneaky good. Can't count them out. They score a ton of points. But that BPI rank, there's just a huge difference in level of competition. I don't expect Duke to go super deep this year, but I do like them to get out of the first round. Another sleeper pick I like, VCU over St. Mary's. When you look at the matchups, look at points per game, opponent points per game. BPI is light years apart. VCU does not have any games played versus top 25 competition, but VCU sneaky good here against St. Mary's. If you like a chaos pick, you could pick VCU over St. Mary's. I'm going to stick with St. Mary's here because too much chaos is a bad thing when you're trying to predict it. You can't predict too much chaos. You kind of got to pepper it in where you think it's going to be. But one that I do like is right here, San Diego State, Charleston. A little bit closer in BPI. Both teams have 0 wins versus top 25 competition. You look at points per game, my goodness, College of Charleston. So I'm picking a little bit of my 12-5 chaos to happen here with Charleston over San Diego State. And then over with Miami and Drake, I'm going to take Miami over Drake. Now, for our 11 and 6 seeds, it is really similar to the 12 and 5s. You can bet on at least 1, usually 2, often 3 11-6 upsets happening every single year. Last year, there were 3: Michigan over Colorado State, Notre Dame over Alabama, and Iowa State over LSU. In 2021, there were 2: UCLA over BYU, Syracuse over San Diego State. So here's one I like: NC State over Creighton. Scoring's good. Opponent points per game, pretty good. Top 25 wins. Creighton's a little stronger. But again, coming into the tournament, you got to bet on a little bit of chaos. I like for NC State to get this win here. The reason is we don't know over in the Midwest who the 11 seed to Iowa State's 6 seed is going to be. We have Mississippi State and Pitt playing tomorrow, Tuesday, March 14th, for that 11 seed spot. I don't really favor either of those teams against Iowa State personally. So regardless of who comes out, Mississippi State better defensively maybe, but I'm going to take Iowa State there to get out of the first round. Down in the West, ASU, Nevada, again, it all depends on who comes out of here for me. For this 11 seed. This one is being played on Wednesday, March 15th. It's the night game, Nevada, Arizona State. Maybe if it's Arizona State, I might pick that as one. You almost feel like you got to pick 2, but I'm going to stick with TCU for now just because I don't know who they're going to be playing. Which brings us over to the East, and we got a really interesting one: Kentucky versus Providence. And this is one where I know we're an SEC podcast. I'm supposed to be SEC homer. Look at top versus top 25. Look at opponent points per game. Look at offensive points per game. BPI. I'm betting on a little more chaos here. It happened to them last year. Kentucky fans are going to hate me. But I'm going to take Providence to get past Kentucky in round 1 in the East. Okay. Almost done here. Let's look at our 7 and 10s. These are not quite coin flips, but again, like the 11-6, you can bet on multiple happening just about every year. Last year there was 1, but in 2021 there were 3: Maryland over UConn, Rutgers over Clemson. There were 2. In 2019 there were 3: Minnesota over Louisville, Iowa over Cincinnati, and Florida over Nevada. So you can almost always bank on a 10 over a 7. However, I really like Missouri over Utah State, excuse me. In the South, Missouri just playing really, really, really well. They've got 6 top 25 wins. Utah State has none. So I like 7 seed Missouri there to get into the second round versus Arizona. Similar here in the Midwest, Texas A&M versus Penn State. I think Texas A&M is a much stronger 7 seed. They've been very good, very good. 4-1 versus top 25. Points per game offensively are similar at around 73, and opponent points per game, Texas A&M slight advantage. So again, I'm sticking with Texas A&M here. I think they kind of bounced back against that drubbing that Alabama gave them in the SEC tournament championship. Down in the West, Boise State, Northwestern. I could see an argument here. This one is really, really, really close, but Northwestern is 4-1 versus top 25 opponents. That matters. Boise scores a little bit more, but again, I kind of like Northwestern to get it done there, which brings me to USC, Michigan State in the East. This is one, I feel like USC is a perennial 10 seed, and I never know what's going to happen. Michigan State, solid. USC, solid. Here's where I'm going to bet on an upset to happen. So I'm going to take number 10, USC, to get out of round 1 against Marquette. Almost out of the first round here. So we have our 8, 9 seeds. Guys, these are coin flips. Literally flip a coin, pick. Although typically when these happen, we usually see multiple 8 seeds win over 9 seeds, or we see multiple 9 seeds win over 8 seeds. So it usually goes in streaks like that. I will actually take Maryland here. Just going to go flip a coin. Iowa and Auburn. It depends on which Auburn team shows up. I mean, it really does. And I don't know. I'm going to go with Iowa. Should stick with the SEC team because we're an SEC podcast, but I don't know. Just Auburn didn't show me anything in the SEC tournament like I thought they would. So hard for me to go with them there. Now, Arkansas, Illinois, great matchup. Great matchup. I'm actually going to take Arkansas in this one. Again, coin flip, could go either way, but I'm going to pick the SEC team to get out there. And then Memphis over FAU, actually not a hard one. The way that Memphis played against Houston to beat them in the tournament championship, give me Memphis there over FAU. Could be wrong, but my gut says that's the right pick. All right, we are into the round of 32 looking for our Sweet 16 pick. So I'm going to go a little bit faster here because the probabilities now become a little bit clearer. Usually there's a Cinderella story with like an 11 seed. But I'm going to stick chalk here. I'm going to take Alabama to get past Maryland, even if we look at the stats. Just when Alabama starts shooting, when Quinterly and Miller and all those guys just get going, they are so hard to beat. Houston is an easy one for me to get past Iowa. That defense, I don't think Iowa's going to be putting up 80 points per game against that defense. So give me Houston going straight chalk here. Kansas, Arkansas. Really interesting. But we saw Texas A&M come back against Arkansas and see them get really flustered. So could see Arkansas making an attempt here, but I'm going to take Kansas. Now, when it comes to Memphis and Purdue, a lot of people feel that Purdue is just a lock here for feeding their big guy, getting him the ball. And it could be, but we saw Memphis just pour it on Houston. So I think there's an argument to be made, again, if you love chaos, and I do, for Memphis to get past Purdue here in similar fashion to what they did with Houston. Not saying it's going to happen. Certainly not something I'm going to bet on happening. So I'll take Purdue, but guys, listeners, viewers, would not surprise me if we saw something crazy happen there. All right, let's head back up to the South. Missouri, Arizona, I think this is where it ends for Missouri. Unfortunately, Arizona, too physical, too big. They can score as well. Sorry, I didn't mean to close out of that. Great strength of schedule, 6-1 versus top 25. They've been there. They know how to get this done. Give me Arizona to get into the Sweet 16. Missouri's had a great season, good upside, great future for them. Comes to an end here, in my opinion. Texas A&M, great matchup. This one's in Pittsburgh. Ah, man, awesome matchup. I think Texas gets it done. Texas A&M maybe just runs out of steam there. So again, I'm pretty chalk here. Alabama, Arizona in the South, Houston, Texas in the Midwest. Down here in the West, I'm going to take UCLA, chalk, and Marquette to get past USC in the East. Pedigree depth comes into play here as we get into the Sweet 16. All right, back in the South, we've got our 12 and 4 seed. I'm taking Virginia. Charleston, it was a nice run. I don't think they get one past Virginia here. Virginia really good at forcing you to play their style. College of Charleston scores a lot of points. I mean, again, if you want to bet on chaos, there's an opportunity for it. I'm not going to put my money there. Over here, Miami versus Indiana. Give me Indiana. Down here in my semi-chaos division in the West, St. Mary's over Iona. I am going to stick with my Cinderella pick. There's got to be one every year, right? So I'm going to stick with Iona here to get past St. Mary's and into the Sweet 16. And then Duke, Tennessee. I just don't see Tennessee getting past this Duke team. They could, but with their offensive identity just kind of like all over the place right now, the lack of guard play, it can't just be Santiago Vescovi running around trying to make plays. I'm going to take Duke to get out and get into the Sweet 16. All right, back up in the South, NC State versus Baylor. Again, if you like, an 11 seed to make runs here, here's another really good opportunity. Look at BPI, NC State 46, Baylor 12. Maybe that sways you, but points per game offensively really similar. Opponent points per game really similar. Could take another chance on an 11 seed here. I'm not going to, though. It's too much chaos to try to predict. Give me Baylor. Give me the chalk. Iowa State, Xavier. I'm going to take, I think Xavier is what we took last night. Yeah, you look at that offense, 81 points per game. I'll take Xavier there. Easy one for me. TCU, Gonzaga in the Midwest, the West. Like Gonzaga there. I think they go deeper. And then Providence over Kansas State. Again, another area you could pick a deeper run for Providence. BPI, really close. Kansas State, 7-5 versus top 25. Providence, 3-5 versus top 25. I don't know. Maybe I'll bet on a little more chaos here. Give me Providence to make it out over Kansas State. I'll take 11 seeds to get to the Sweet 16. Why not? All right, back up in the South, Alabama over Virginia. Give me Alabama. I think they get one more. They make a deep run into the Elite Eight. They are that good this year, in my opinion. Houston is an easy pick. Down in the West, it comes to an end for Cinderella story. Iona, that carriage turns back into a pumpkin. And if we get this Purdue-Duke matchup, it's easily Purdue for me. However, if we end up with that weird chaos, Memphis over Purdue, I could see Duke going into the Elite Eight over Memphis. So just watch out here in the East for that scenario, which, just throws everything off. However, for this bracket, I'm going to stick with Purdue there. All right, then we got back up in the South, Baylor, Arizona, taking Arizona. Xavier, Texas. Give me Xavier over Texas. In the West, I like Zaga over UCLA, and I will take Marquette there over Providence to get to the Elite Eight. Guys, we are almost there. Want to take just a quick minute before we fill out this Final Four. If you've listened to the show, if you enjoy the show, if you're a returning viewer, listener, if you're a follower on Twitter, I want to thank you guys. And want to invite you, if you ever feel so inclined, to donate to the show, donate to the pod. I've got the QR code right up there in the top left corner. Takes you to the podcast homepage on Anchor, where you can donate $1, $4, whatever, the cost of a cup of coffee. I appreciate it so much. It helps me just continue to put in the time, the effort, investing in new resources, upgrades, that sort of thing. Domain names, domain registrations for the website. To keep this all going. Also, if you feel so inclined, I've got merch available right here at my Bonfire store featuring the Alabama hoodie right there, what I call my SEC Pride merch. We've got hoodies, sweatshirts, long sleeve t-shirts for every single SEC team with my SEC Pride design. So the school or state name up at the top, the state outline on the chest with the team mascot in the geographic location of the school. So since Alabama is our number 1 seed and our SEC tournament champion and regular season champion, I'm featuring the Alabama merch here in the school color with the elephant logo right there on Tuscaloosa. Go check that out. I don't make a ton of money off those, but I do make a little something over the cost of production. So go through, check those out, find your school, find your team, find a color, find a style you want. Like I said, t-shirt, long sleeve t-shirt, sweatshirt, hoodie, you name it, it's there. Browse through it all. Hey, if you buy one, wear it, snap a photo, send it to me. I'll shout you out on the pod, or I'll keep you anonymous. It is totally up to you. But I appreciate you guys so much. All right, back to it. The Final Four, we're almost there. We got 1 and 2, Alabama, Arizona. Unfortunately, this is where I'm going against Alabama. I think Arizona, they're big, they're physical, they've been here, they've done it. Alabama, perfectly capable, would not surprise me at all. But if I'm betting on my bracket, I'm going to bet on Arizona, the team that's been there, done that, to get past Alabama into this round. Houston over Xavier. Again, that defense for Houston, this is a pretty easy one for me. Xavier scores a lot of points, but I think the adjustment from Houston's defense there is going to make a big difference. Kansas versus Gonzaga in the West. I like Gonzaga to get to that Final Four, and Purdue Marquette. If it is this matchup, I like Purdue to get out there into the Final Four versus Marquette, which brings us to our Final Four: Arizona, Purdue, Houston, Gonzaga. We all agreed last night in our bumbled recording that the winner is probably going to be one of these. So if it's Purdue, Arizona, I like Purdue. And if it's Houston, Gonzaga, I like Houston there. And if it comes down to it, I'm taking Houston overall. We'll do a nice little score of 75-71. How about that? And that's our bracket. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think I'm way off base? Do you think I'm way too far in the deep end? Am I trying to predict too much chaos? Maybe, but I mean, it's March Madness, right? You got to bet on some chaos. That's the way I feel. So who are your 12-5 upsets? Who are your 14-3 upsets? Who are your 10-7? I guess 10-7 is not really an upset, but who are your sleeper picks? Who's your Cinderella? Mine's Iona. Who do you have making a deep run? Maybe a surprise 12 seed running into the Sweet 16. Comment, let me know below. Smash the thumbs up. I love to get 10, 20, 30 likes on every single video. So if you're an SEC fan, just a sports fan, a basketball fan, or you're just here for March Madness every year, love you. Thanks for joining me. I will catch you guys all throughout the tournament right here with all your updates, news, recaps, and highlights on the SEC Recap Podcast.